This gigantic box you would think is the Mi 12 from Xiaomi because it says Xiaomi on the top, but you would be wrong because this is the Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge 5G and not the 11i 5G because we've got the Hypercharge variant over here. We've got some other stuff from Xiaomi, which is this card, which makes no sense, and this thing that looks like a speaker amplifier but makes no sense. Looks like it's made out of bamboo. There's a bag, I'm assuming for the speaker thing. Only use this for speaker things. Anyway, we also have this, which is a timer, which also sort of makes no sense. What are we counting down to?
15 minutes.
Oh, to charge your phone? Okay. And then, this is what is most important. So, I mean, this is what is most important, this, but this is also quite important. So these are the back panels, which are stuck to the box. Why are they stuck to the box? Anyway, so these are the back panels for what are the color options for this phone. So that's quite cool. I don't know why they had to stick it on there, but yeah, so now we can show you all the colors of the phone without actually having the phone. So that was the unboxing. Thank you guys for watching. No, actually, let's look at all of them. This box can go bye-bye. So these are the colors, which looks amazing. And this is the phone. So let's quickly go ahead and unbox it. And once in a blue moon, nowadays, you actually need a knife to unbox the phone. So let me go quickly grab mine. So some stuff on the back, Mediatek Dimensity 925G chip. We've got the display stuff, we've got the charging stuff, we've got the camera stuff. We'll talk about all that stuff. This knife needs a sharpening. Okay. It's actually really, really thick plastic. Save the environment, they said. Don't kill the dolphins, they said. Okay, so let me see if there's a price that has been brutally removed from the box. Well, let's quickly go ahead and remove the phone as it opens slowly with dramatic effect. Not copied from a fruit company at all. So we've got a SIM ejector tool and some basic quick start guide things and a back case. And of course, you have the phone as well. So why I wanted to remove these from the box was because I can sort of place it like this and show you what the colors look like. So you have an idea. This is obviously the green color, but if it was the blue color, it would look like this. If it was this purpley color, it would look like this. Not bad. I think this is still the best. This or the black, personal preference, midnight or whatever the hell they're calling it. This one's nice. Let's see what else is in the box. So this one is supposedly carrying the new charger, which is this massive 120 watt brick. But it's actually not massive for a 120 watt charger. And then you also get a USB-C to USB cable, which should also be a 120 watt capable cable. Actually, it's not USB-C. So it's USB-A to USB-C, which means that this is also USB-A to USB-C. So what I want to do first is pop on this cover and see how that looks. So yeah, you do have a cover for the USB-C port, which is nice, always appreciated. You do have proper cutouts for your speaker as well as microphone, secondary speaker on the top, infrared and a noise cancelling microphone, I believe. So infrared blast is still there. You also have the long missing 3.5mm headphone jack. On the back is the 108 megapixel camera, wide camera, and a 2 megapixel macro. The funny thing is, you see this 108 megapixel number? This is actually not this camera, it's this camera. So they put this on the ultra wide camera, and this is the main camera, which is the 108 megapixel one. So just for the sake of making it look cool, they put the 108 megapixel branding here, but the actual 108 megapixel camera is this one. And this is the pinsy old 2 megapixel one that nobody will really use. You also have what appears to be a LED flash and a dummy, because, you know, to give it that aesthetic, they had to put a fourth thing, which is a nothing. So that's here as well. Fingerprint sensors in the power button. Let's quickly go ahead and power this on. So this is what the phone looks like when you power it on. You do have a punch hole for the front camera, and you also have an earpiece just above the display. So pretty much all display on the front. You do have a little bit of a lip on the bottom. The front camera is a 16 megapixel camera with a 2.45 f-stop, and the display itself is a full HD display, so you get a 2400 by 1080 pixel resolution. 6.67 inches is the size for this. You also have 120 Hz of refresh rate and a 360 Hz of touch sampling, which is nice. So standard launcher, setup is complete. Apparently I'm ready to rock. So coming back to the display, so you have a 395 pixel per inch pixel density, 1200 nits of brightness, which is good for the size of the display and the sort of viewability indoors as well as outdoors. But 1200 nits is peak brightness, so it will not be on 1200 nits at all times. But if you're watching HDR content or anything like that, it can go up to 1200 nits. And that is what you want to look at. Display looks good. Viewing angles are also pretty nice. You also have Dolby audio and dual symmetrical speakers. So the speakers that I was showing you earlier, they're dual speakers and they're equally loud. So in most cases, you have one speaker which is less loud than the other speaker, but these are symmetrical speakers, so you'll have equally loud speakers. So that was the display, but on the inside you get the Mediatek Dimensity chipset, which has an octa-core processor, and you also get the Mali's G68 MC4 GPU, and you do get two options. So you get a 6GB variant or an 8GB variant. Both have 128GB of storage. There is a hybrid micro SD card slot, so you can pop in a micro SD up to 1 terabyte. So those are basically all your storage options. Now the coolest thing about this phone is the charging capabilities, and the fact that this phone can charge from 0 to 100% in just 15 minutes. And that's thanks to the 120 watt charger that's supplied in the box. Now Xiaomi is going to sell this charger separately as well. And this also has dual cell batteries. So the batteries are split. So instead of sending 120 watts to one battery, what they're doing is sending 60 watts to each of the batteries. That way the batteries remain cooler, you're sending less voltage, and they charge quicker as well. Now, you can buy the charger separately as well. So if you want to keep a second charger, that will be available for sale. But you get one charger along with a USB-A to USB-C cable inside the box. The charging is supported from -10 degrees as well. So you'll get 12 watt charging if the phone is really cold for some reason. If you are in a very cold environment, you'll get charging for about 12 watts there as well. So you'll get some slow charging, but the phone will continue to charge. So in this, you have a 4500 milliamp hour battery. And like I said, it supports 120 watt charging. But if you get the Xiaomi 11i, the only difference primarily between these two phones is that you get a 5160 milliamp hour battery in the regular non-hypercharge phone. And that phone has a 67 watt charger inside the box, and it supports 67 watt charging as well. So it's still not the slowest phone on the charging aspect of it. It still charges to 50% in 13 minutes. But if you get this one and you turn on hypercharge at all times, this will charge from 0 to 100 in exactly 15 minutes. So on the front, you do have a Gorilla Glass 5. So the front display is protected by Gorilla Glass 5, but on the back is standard toughened glass. It's not branded by any brand. And then this is also IP53 rated. So this phone can have basic splashes of water and some dust resistance, but that's about it. Let's talk about the cameras on the back real quick. So on the back, you do have a 108 megapixel camera, which is a primary camera. This is the Samsung HM2. And then you also have an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera and a 2 megapixel main sort of macro camera. Now, the problem with cameras that are macro cameras is that the 2 megapixel camera is basically wasted. They could have put the macro capability in the ultra-wide camera that they've branded as the 108 megapixel camera. And of course, we'll be testing this camera a lot. This can also do 4K at 30 FPS. So that's a good video, this thing, but it's still not 4K 60. That in this price range, you can actually get phones that can do 4K 60. So that's something that they definitely missed out on. So let's quickly pop open the camera. So access to photos on this device, use microphone for sound, that's fine. Allow camera to access the location while using the app, it's fine. So that's what the camera UI looks like. Pretty standard for Xiaomi devices. You do have a bunch of options that you can turn on from here. You can also change the aspect ratio. And then you can also jump into the video mode. And in this, like I mentioned, you have up to 4K 30 FPS or 720p 30 FPS as well. If you want 60 FPS, you can get it in 1080p. You also have the movie frame mode, which is nice. It gives you that whole cinematic sort of look without being in a cinematic mode. So don't confuse it with what's available on the iPhone. You also have a pro video mode as well as a pro photography mode. So in this, you can set certain things. RAW capture is enabled. You can also turn on the 108 megapixel camera. So it's going to start binning your pixels. And then you also have certain effects over here, if that's what you want. And then you also have the portrait mode, which we'll test out. And then you have all of these other modes. You have something called a vlog mode, a watermark mode, slow motion is also available. And slow motion can do 1080p in 120 or 720p up to 960 FPS. But let's quickly look at the design a little bit. I see they've squared off the phone quite a lot. It's still comfortable to hold. It does have some rounded edges, but just looking at the design, it's become more like another company's phone that I've been using for a bit. So if you look at the design, it's very, very similar to this as far as flat sides and rounded edges go. And even the holes for the speaker are kind of similar, don't you think? Even the layouting on the bottom is quite similar, but of course they need to get some design influence. It's influence, it's not copied, guys. This is something that I don't like. This is something that I don't like. The branding that is on the wrong camera lens. I don't like this empty, unnecessary hole. Basically trying to make it look like it has more cameras than you need. The 2 megapixel camera is pretty much pointless. They claim that you get good 2 megapixel macro shots. Of course, I'll be putting all of that to the test. But the user interface is pretty fast and responsive. And if we just go into the settings real quick and see what we've got MIUI 12.5. And right now we're not connected. But if there are updates, we should get them almost immediately. But one thing I wanted to also see is if there are any apps. You can uninstall the Mi Store. You can uninstall Mi Pay. No, you can't uninstall Mi Pay. So Mi Pay remains, but you have all of these apps that come preloaded. These are their partner apps, but you can get rid of them. So Moj, for example, uninstall. LinkedIn, uninstall. Facebook, uninstall. I would really like to see them put an option while starting up the phone to get rid of all of these apps instead of you having to manually delete them. But the fact that you can delete most of them is good. You can't get rid of their app store that is called Get Apps. That's annoying. So it's set to 60 by default, but if you want, you can put it to 120, which I'm going to do. So that's it. There was a quick look at the new Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge. The coolest aspect of this is, of course, the quick charging capabilities, 15 minutes to a full charge. Does it perform well? Does it do gaming well? Do the cameras actually work well? Is 15 minutes of charging really useful? Is it something that you want? So as far as pricing is concerned, you do have two price brackets. If you get the 6GB variant, it's 26,999. If you get the 8GB variant, it's 28,999. So that's good. You also have some bank offers, so you can save up to 3,000 rupees if you do have the right credit card and whatever else offers that they have. So you can go check those out. We'll leave links to the phone in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already a part of Team iGyaan. This has been Bharat. See you guys in the next one.